I would definitely add in grace and patience for sure, because
Patience
you
is a big
need
one,
that.
yeah.
You really do,
Yeah.
because, every decade, if a generation is 20 years, and, I would say in the relationship, that's probably more like 10 years.
Right.
You're a different human being.
Right.
You realize different things. For us, from our 20s to now our early 50s, we're really different people,
Right.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And where we're going, what we want to do, we're moving down the same path, that's for sure. We're different, and we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
How do we grow into this new chapter in our
Right.
relationship?
Welcome to Couples Unfiltered, a podcast where we talk about life, love, loss, relationships, and the journey. I'm Lionel Salisbury.
I'm Natalie Galley Salisbury. I must first start by saying that we're not licensed therapists, and anything we say here is just based on our experiences and the things that we know. So I have to say that every time.
Well, I want to say today we are extremely excited. First off, it is Natalie and I's anniversary, our wedding anniversary. So I'm happy to be here with her. Yeah.
For 4 small years. Feels like forever.
I know, right? Well, let's talk about what forever looks like. We have an amazing couple, friends of ours, and we're so happy to have them here with us today to talk about what life looked like, longevity in a relationship. This couple has been together for 32 years, and we're very happy to have a conversation with them. Want to introduce you all to Amir and Treci. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We first met
appreciate
them on September 12th with another podcast we were on together, Zeke and Network One-on-One. And the episode was episode 11, I believe.
Yeah.
Where we just met each other for the first time on live podcasting. He threw a bunch of questions at us, and we found out shortly why he got us together. And that was because we have a lot of things in common. And so that was exciting. That was fun. And then now we've become friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zeke is like a friend matchmaker. Yeah. And then the episode was called Designing a Balanced Lifestyle with the Smiths and the Salisbury.
Yeah. Yeah.
That even sounds good.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Double S.
Good.
Well, let's get started here. We know who you are, but I want you all to tell your story. Tell us a bit about yourselves. What's your upbringing, and what brought you to Southern California?
You want me to start?
Yes, of course.
Well, I was born in the Midwest, St. Louis, Belleville. Let's see. So I have family on both sides of that Mississippi River, on the Missouri side and the Illinois side. My parents divorced when I was about 6 or 7, so we came out to California. And so I'm not a native, but I kind of feel like I am until I'm around my family. Then I see bits and pieces of this other world. So, which makes it's an interesting mix. But anyway, so we came out here mid 70s. We were in Oceanside with my mom's cousin. He was a Navy man, and him and his family. And we stayed with them for a little while in Oceanside, then went to Claremont, and from Claremont to Southeast San Diego. And high school and everything else. So,
Well, Treci, how about you?
For me, so I'm also from the Midwest. I'm from Indiana, Indianapolis. My dad was military, so that's what brought us out here. I moved out here in '84. I was probably about 13. We actually lived in the Bay Area first. We lived on Treasure Island. When I was 10 is when we first moved. But yeah, so San Diego, we came here when I was about 13 years old, and been here ever since. So
So what was that magical moment that brought the two of you together? How did you guys meet 32 years ago?
okay, so when I moved here and there in middle school, in my 7th grade year, I met a friend. Her name was Kelly Henson, and so we were friends throughout just the years of growing up. And she ended up going to high school with Amir
At Madison.
at Madison, and I was over. You were at Madison. I was in Mission Bay at the time.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, "Hey, I have this guy I want you to meet." I'm like, okay, whatever, It's like, because I'm a junior at the time, he was a senior. And so she hooked it up, or we met at a football game, a high school football game. So we met. It's like no real sparks then. I thought he was very handsome, but I was like, oh, okay.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
He
What'd you
wasn't
say?
tall enough. Like, I wanted someone a little bit taller. So I thought, the things that's on our list when you're young.
Yeah,
But
we all have them. We still have them.
so we would see each other out, like at clubs and just through mutual friends, just out and about throughout San Diego throughout those years. I went away to college, came back, and then we saw each other again at San Diego State Step Show. And I think that's where we exchanged numbers, kind of reconnected. But at the time, we both were in relationships. So it was still maybe like I won't say a couple of months, but maybe
Something
6
like
months
that, yeah.
to a year before we actually became a couple.
I think I probably grew a couple inches. And that may have made it better.
Well, I was
Stand-
wiser. I was
yeah.
wiser then. I
Well, I'm
learned that height
standing-
didn't really.
Tall
Yeah.
at my 5'7" stature.
That's all that matters, right? You walk
Yep.
tall.
Absolutely.
Right.
Girls are very attracted to confidence. We just don't know it back then.
And yeah, exactly.
We just don't know it.
So after that magical moment, how long did you date before you got married?
We dated for 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we were friends, throughout the years, and I'd see her here and there. But yeah, once we got together and started hanging out, yeah, it was about 2 years, and it was
Yeah.
interesting because Treci was pretty set she wasn't gonna be a girlfriend for like years.
Oh, I made that clear.
She made that clear, and so I actually kind of appreciated it, and in hindsight when I think about it, and then talking, I had met your dad, like midway through. I think he was deployed somewhere.
No.
Where was he?
Probably just working.
What was
Yeah.
Jason born? Your nephew?
When we met the second time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, maybe I met your mom. I
Yeah.
think that's what it was. But anyway, yeah, I was like, I didn't feel like it was an ultimatum or anything. I just felt like she knew what she wanted. So
Yeah. That's
Even
attractive.
young.
it was attractive.
And we were really
and
young.
we were young.
But for me, I knew that I didn't want to be someone's 5-year girlfriend. That just wasn't for me.
Yeah, and it kind of made sense because I'm kind of a serious person. Not all the time, but but most of the time I'm pretty
So when you
pretty
guys-
straight.
When you guys got engaged, then how long before? Like, were you engaged for a while, or how did you?
I feel like once we got engaged, I felt like the planning started
Yeah, it did.
then
It did
for
start.
the wedding. We're like, okay, let's set a date. Like once we were engaged, we already dated for 2 years. It's like,
Right.
did you need more time
Yeah, we
to
didn't let
see
it
if you want to be
linger for
engaged?
another-
It's like
yeah.
we didn't live together or anything like that. So the next step for us was planning the marriage. So it was like setting the date and
Now you
Yeah,
guys
it's
did
moving.
something actually very smart. It's kind of like the textbook way when you get engaged for this, day and age, is that you guys planned on buying a house really quickly, and you actually bought the house before the wedding.
yeah, we bought it was a condo. We had a condominium in North Park that we bought, and we closed like 2 months prior to the actual wedding. So our thing was like, we either buy something or honeymoon. And so we chose to buy the property.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, you can honeymoon throughout your marriage,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, as you should. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it's like that should happen anyway. But yeah,
It's funny how people probably in their minds, they don't even realize they think, well, we're going to have a honeymoon and then that's it for a while. You
Yeah.
know, like you plan that and then you think, oh, I had my vacation. So now we have to really save up or we have some time when it really should be that you vacation,
Yeah.
or, you know, date or weekends or whatever it is. I wish people would think about that more. Spend that money on, you know, planning weekends every year or weekend
Yeah.
a few times a year, you know, getaways
Yeah.
and not necessarily huge expensive honeymoons. You
because
know?
a staycation is a vacation.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
So-
especially in San Diego.
I mean, you design your home to live in. That's should be your space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That should be
Right.
your sanctuary. That should
Yes.
be
That's true.
you. You don't necessarily want to go away and try to find what you have at home, but you know
Yeah.
that's where your vacation is.
Right.
And
Yep.
where we
Yeah.
live at, it's a beautiful place.
Because the
anyway.
traveling is for experience, you know, and to see different places and be in different environments, which also is something that is inspiring to us. You know, it's like you get there, you're like, I love the way they did this because it functions this way and we can
Right.
incorporate this. So you're learning them when you're traveling. But as far as it being like the one time honeymoon, yeah, that's.
Or you're just so tired from the
Yeah,
wedding and all the planning.
Oh my gosh.
You're
I don't- it's like, is it really a honeymoon?
Right?
exhausted.
And actually,
You're exhausted.
I mean, I don't know too many people who have not had weddings where it gets so, you know, intense that if you're going to be challenging your relationship, it's during that planning stage
Yeah.
where everything's kind of, everybody's on edge and everybody else thinks it's just a big party, but you're trying to make these plans and it
Yeah.
can be challenging. Like, did you guys experience any challenges during your wedding?
Yeah, we did. We did. We both come from big families. Trying to pull it all together. My mom and Treci's aunt didn't really see eye to eye, and it finally, you know, there was just a lot of this just back and forth. So it was just a little bit of underlying tension that was going on, right? And you could feel it because it would kind of consume the room. So at some point in time, I want to say it was maybe the
Rehearsal night.
rehearsal night. Yeah, yeah, and I pulled them both to the side, my mom and Treci's aunt Sheila, and just had a talk with them. And, you know, and just kind of reminded them that this was our time. And it was good. It was a little scary doing that, you know. I was
Yeah,
23 years
that's your
old. It was my mom, you know, somebody I love dearly. And but it was the right thing to do. And I think I probably gained a little bit of respect from both of them. And it worked out well because I think they probably, well, I know this now, they realized they were probably more alike than they were different at that time, which was just two strong personalities
Yeah.
that know how to get things done.
Yeah. And that's
Right.
what it
So-
yeah, that's
and
exactly what
that's
it is.
really what it was.
Learning
So,
how to give up control.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's more. I mean, I feel like both of them are this way. It's not even like them needing to be in control, but it like if you want something done, you know, you can call them
ask either one of them.
and they're going to be
And
on
they're
top
gonna-
of it. You know what I mean? It's just like so that's just both of their personalities. They're used to just like okay, so you know, my aunt was coordinating the wedding for it, which we asked her to do. She's done it before, and that was the whole thing, you know, and his mom is the mother
Yeah.
of the groom, you know, and so it's just like she doesn't know
Co-star.
our communication with my aunt, and you know, and so she didn't know the communication with my aunt because we're adults, you know, it's like we're handling that on our own, but yeah, so I think that's where the conflict kind of came in, but it all worked out.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
So this was during but like you're the bride, and so you shouldn't be thinking and worrying about this stuff. Like how did you communicate what happened to her? Was this was before the wedding, right? So
Yeah.
like,
This is rehearsal night.
I think I just told her, right?
just-
That
You
time?
did no. Remember, we were in the closet. We were getting ready, Because he
Hiding in the
was
closet.
going
Don't
out
you make
for
it
the
seem like we were
bachelor
hiding in the
party.
closet.
No, we were hiding. He was packing his bag because it's the night before the wedding, right? So
He's like, my
we
mom
were
can't
still
kick
like
me out now.
traditionally.
Nobody can hear me.
No, we're at our
This is
condo
what I
at this
did. Don't
moment.
say anything. Come on.
We were at our place. Let's just say that we were
Yeah.
at our place, and
Yeah.
that I think that's when, because I didn't even notice at all. So
Yeah.
that's when you told me
Yeah.
about it.
But we had the both grandmothers were there. I don't think three, at least two grandmothers
Two of the
were there.
grandmothers, mine.
My grandfather,
yours.
your grandfather, and yeah, you know the interesting thing is when you think about it and think back on it is when you're putting all this together. There's a lot to it. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Relationships are complicated, and the way if you can communicate that from the very beginning, it makes things a lot smoother, you know. And so it was really like, it was a life lesson, really,
Right.
you know, because once you start your family, you really have to decide that you'll do whatever's necessary for your family, right?
But that
And
must have
that's
made
not
you.
that's not pushing out your extended family. It's not that, but you have to set some ground rules.
Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in a world who's going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And this is why we're excited to tell you about our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding therapy easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in the description. It's betterhelp.com/couplesunfiltered. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. When my wife lost her first husband, therapy not only helped her to cope with the tragedy of his terminal illness, but it helped her to better communicate with her children, who were also losing a father. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/couplesunfiltered. That's betterhelp.com/couplesunfiltered. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.
You guys started off with ground rules. You started off with a good foundation with you saying that, listen, I'm not going to be a lifetime girlfriend. I'm the marrying type. And you established that early. You established before you got married that you are my priority. Regardless of anything or anybody, it is you. I'm your knight. I'm going to stand up in front of anybody for you. That's huge. That creates a foundation that can't be be shaken at all.
Yeah.
So what did that
It
make you
creates
feel?
security within the relationship.
Right.
You know, it made me feel secure that we're making the right decision
Right.
for each other, you know. So it just, and yeah, with the way it was handled, you know, just made me respect him even more
Right.
as a man, as my husband, you know. It's just as an individual. It's like, wow, you know, because like he said, that takes a lot to stand up to our elders in general.
Right.
And then one to be his mom, one to be my aunt, you know, and it's just like for him to be able to do that and do it in the graceful way, you know, was,
Respectful. 'Cause it still
Right.
has to be handled,
Yeah.
with respect.
I think that idea of that ride or die, you know, we say that a lot in kind of jokingly or whatever, and we talk about it amongst our friends, but that, in scenarios where maybe even if your spouse is not at their best, during any kind of social interactions, or if you have an event to go to and your spouse doesn't want to go and you find yourself making excuses for them or whatever, but I've realized that that's who you married. And, you have to be proud of them, and everybody has their off days. Nobody's perfect, but you have to stand by them no matter what.
Yeah.
And, it's important to have that ride or die mentality throughout your whole relationship, regardless of, we do that with our kids, right?
Yeah,
we talk
100%.
about when our kids mess up,
Yeah.
you want them to do well, but when they mess up, you don't tell the teacher, oh, my kid's such a jerk and I can't believe he did that. You're just like, well, I'm sure there's a reason for it, or you want to be proud of your kids no matter what.
Yeah.
So you feel that way about your kids, you feel that way about your spouse, and it is like your family's tight. That should be
and
established from the
usually,
beginning.
and there is a reason for it. It's just the communication that needs to happen to know
Yeah.
why, whether it's with our kids, why they responded to a teacher that way, or there is a reason behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
How was that? This was right before you got married. So like literally before the vows. When you guys are standing there face to face, did those things play in the back of your mind? Like as you were looking at your persons, like this guy.
Wait a minute, which things?
With him standing up.
Oh,
to-
okay. I thought you meant like the tension between the family
Oh,
members.
no,
I'm
no.
like, no, that was gone.
No, but just the fact that him standing up and, in the face of adversity, essentially. And you're standing there and you guys are getting ready to exchange your vows. And it's like, oh, he did that for me.
Yeah.
Did you have
I mean,
You're like, let's rethink that honeymoon.
I know, like, I gotta go back. I gotta go all the way back. Right. I've always had a lot of respect for Amir, always. So I just felt like he was this wise young guy, like an old soul for sure. And so I think that just kind of, it definitely, the deal was already sealed, but it brought us to another level of like, okay, this is what our future is going to be as a unit together, the two of us now, that is solid.
Right.
And, he'll be there for me.
Wow.
So,
That's lovely.
yeah.
Well, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about children.
Okay.
So, got married.
Slow forward.
When did the children start to come? And how many children do you have?
So we have 4.
Okay.
And they're all 2 years apart.
3 girls, 1 boy.
Yeah, first 3 are girls, the baby's the boy.
You were pregnant for 8 years.
Oh my goodness, girl. Tell me about it.
Not being pregnant, another one is pregnant, you're pregnant again.
Oh my goodness.
Going
Yeah,
through all
my
these
body was like
pregnancy cycles.
on time, each time. But where was that? Where were we going with that?
We were, just 2
So it
years
was
apart.
2 years after. Yeah, 2 years after.
You
we got
notice the
married.
theme, she's stuck on this 2 years. So.
I know. I didn't even notice that until I'm hearing myself say it now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta play that.
That's 8 years you rolled.
It was your 8 years.
Of honeymoons.
Well, with the 4 children, how does that play into your relationship? So as 4 children back to back to back to back, that has to do something to the relationship. How do you guys navigate through being the parents, but also being husband and wife?
It's funny because I don't even think we thought about it at the time.
Yeah.
It seemed really, I know it's an overused word today, but it did seem very organic. We didn't have to think about, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we just thought, because, truth of the matter, we didn't even know how many kids we wanted to have initially.
Yeah, we never talked about
We
it.
really didn't talk about a number. It's just, for 1 turned to 2. What if you got 2? 3 wouldn't be too bad. And let's try 1 more. So, what we did though, we thought about, and we actually talked about the kind of parents we wanted to be and things we wanted to do. And the idea was to, have this of well-functioning adult to go out into the world and contribute something. So that was our main focus, and to raise our own children. So we had to make some decisions that weren't always easy. As far as the children, Treci stayed at home with the kids. You know, I was going through trying to find a career within the company where I work, and managed to get into an apprenticeship. So that was time. There was night school, and there was, you know, going through a 3-year apprenticeship and everything. So we had our challenges, but it was interesting because Treci's dad, who it helped me get through things, and he would just drop these little nuggets, right, you know, about the way things were. But that really helped me see, okay, from here in 3 years you'll be here, and then you can do this and that and the other. And so with that, we're really fortunate and blessed that we always had help at the right time in the right place. And like I said, there could be words of wisdom, buying the place in the beginning. You know, we were young, but I had this barber who was all into real estate, and you know, he was always telling me, you know, buy a place, you know. So Mr. Gentry was his name, and so we got that little nugget, and her dad would give little nuggets, and her mom and my mom and our parents and grandparents. So we were always open to receive these things, and I think that really helped our relationship, because you're going to have things that you don't agree with and or don't agree on, but you find a way to say, okay, well that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah.
But how are we going to be civil and work through this?
Now, I know that, like, when I was growing up, the example that I look back on now was that my parents really didn't know what they were doing. You know, I remember being young, and I think we all could experience either seeing someone else going through where you know, I asked my dad, hey, can I do this? He says, no, like right away, no. And I go ask my mom. My mom says, well, did you ask your dad? And then because he's the kind of deciding factor, you know. And I said, yeah, but he said no. And then we discussed it for a minute, and she says, well, let me see if I can talk to him and convince him to change his mind. And, you know, at the time, of course, I'm happy about that, right? Because I want things to go my way. But at the same time, later, I realized they were not united, and they did not have those conversations with each other about, you know, having a united front as parents and showing that example to the kids that we make decisions together. And is that something you guys kind of started out with your kids and kind of carried that through?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we always discuss before decisions are made. The kids pretty much now just come to us both. Like they won't even try.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, now
Can we
unless
talk
it's
to you
like a
guys?
spontaneous, like they want a decision right now, and if they wanted, you know, like, oh, I want to stay after school today. I mean, none of them are in high school anymore, but you know, just that type of situation. Then of course, it would be me mostly that they would call because he'd be at work. But as far as like big decisions, they pretty much will come to both of us.
Both of us.
Yeah.
I think it's important that they do that, or that you guys make decisions together.
Yeah.
They learned early that we couldn't be played like that.
Right,
Right.
right.
Like
Yeah.
they couldn't come and do that thing. And it's just, yeah. Because
even if it's something I feel like that if he were to say no to something that I wasn't present for, it's just like, and if one of the kids come to me and maybe didn't explain it to their dad the way, you know, why they want to do what it is they want to do, then it's like, we're open to rediscuss, and doesn't have to be the final word.
Right.
You know what I mean? As long as they communicate what it is they want to do and why, you know, then I think we were pretty flexible.
Did you guys feel like that was easy, like from jump, like from the first child, or did you have to kind of evolve into figuring out that you need
they're so close in age
yeah, yes.
that it just
They're only
feels
2
like,
years
yeah,
apart.
so it feels like they all just kind of, it just felt like one big, this is like 4 kids right here, just in a box. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like, except for the youngest, our son, I feel like he felt the youngest, and then maybe because he's the boy and they're the girls. But,
Okay, yeah.
but other than that, I feel like, yeah, and they're close to each other in the same way.
Yeah.
Well, they'll discuss things with each other
Oh, that's good.
first. So that I think that's a plus. But we're as a unit, as a family unit, we talked every night. So open conversations, dinner time, we always sat down together. No phones, no devices or anything at the table. And it's like that was our time. People, if they had concerns or questions or, that was also a good time for them to bring it up and us to make decisions on that. And if it's something we didn't think was a good idea, maybe in one of their siblings, it's like, but mom, dad, look at it this way. It's like, it's good to have those conversations with your kids and have insight from their point of view because we're not their age anymore.
Right.
And so it is good to hear both sides
Yeah, that's
of
excellent.
the spectrum.
That you guys, have so much forethought and strategic planning with being parents, right?
Well, it was almost like leadership by example because they were
Yes.
able to watch the two of you, properly communicate with one another and collaborate on things that were going on. It seems as if you guys, your communication skills has been started off really good and have continued to be outstanding. Is that?
I feel like it's important, how you show up for your kids. And so what we do, they're watching constantly, especially when they're younger, and that helps build the foundation for who they're going to be as adults or the decisions they're going to take out into the world and make for themselves. So I feel like we were very aware of that. I think that was one thing that we made sure and was very conscious about is showing them
But you guys were so
how
young.
to be.
You got married in 1994. Like, how old were you when that first child came?
That wasn't young then. Look, that wasn't young then. That's young for today's people.
Yes, yes.
Back then, it was normal to be married younger and,
Yeah.
start families a little. At 18, it's like you either go to college or you get your own place,
That's
right?
right.
There was
get out.
you weren't living at home until you were 30 years old. That didn't exist. Now, unless you may have come back home for reasons here or there, but you had to get out there and explore.
Part of that too, I think, is our generation being those late 60s and 70s kids. I think we saw a lot of things, and it helped us kind of morph into who we are. And even if you didn't know exactly what you wanted and what you wanted to do, you were probably pretty clear on what you didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah, you guys were growing up
Because
together.
we were growing up
Figuring it
together.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be a present father. I wanted to be there for my kids, even though I didn't really know exactly what that meant. So, I had to just take bits and pieces and piece that together. You kind of, because for me, I was so young, you're not really 23, you get married, and turn 20. I wasn't a man. I was a older boy, I guess you could say, because I didn't feel like I hit my manhood until like the 4th kid was born.
Yeah.
So where I was like, damn, I'm a man now, I guess, after all of this. But it's because we were young. And so we just had to kind of
great
figure
examples.
things. We did.
I mean,
we had really good
my
examples.
mom and dad, I come from a 2-parent household. So seeing that, grandparents, both our grandparents, that kind of helps set the foundation for us. It's like just seeing that and being around it. And it's the same thing that we were naturally just given to our kids. So.
Yeah. We think about, discipline and I don't know, I hate to talk about my parents being not, they could have a do-over. But just like as far as discipline, did you guys have those discussions or did you kind of just take what you learned when you were growing up or Did you spank your kids? Because I know, when we were growing up, that was the way that
No,
this
got it.
was
You got
handled.
spanked.
I
Yeah.
definitely tapped that behind a couple of times. I mean, like, you
Little
ain't got to
guys.
get you don't need a whole branch from a tree or
Right.
anything, you don't need any of that. But
Yeah.
it's just like sometimes, but the look
Yeah.
worked pretty well.
Oh my gosh! I remember my daughter. I used to threaten her with this stuff called sassy juice when she was little, and she was a good child. She never really gave me any trouble. But there's days where she would, test me or whatever, and I'd say, "Hey, you want some sassy juice? You better do what I say, or you're gonna get some sassy juice." And she would be so afraid of that sassy juice.
Yeah.
I never knew what
was
the
it?
heck I was
Tomatoes?
talking about.
Tomato
No,
juice or something? Kids
I never.
Oh, I know.
I just was making. I was making it up
Yeah,
as I
yeah,
went
yeah.
along.
Yeah.
Somebody probably told me about it.
Yeah.
They told me to put vinegar in a glass
Yeah.
of water or
yeah.
something, and then make her
Just to
smell it
smell
just
it,
so
yeah.
she'd be afraid.
Yes.
So, but I never had to do that because she was just afraid of sassy juice by its name. She didn't want to drink it. So that's pretty much all I had to do with her. But I was ready, boy. I was ready.
Yeah.
You
If I
have
had to
those little
spank
magic.
kids.
There's just all those little magic tricks I can I got eyes in the back of my head,
Right.
and they never knew that the mirror in front of me on the wall was the eyes in the back of my head that I could see
Yep.
what they're doing.
Or
It's
just
just
set 'em
like,
up and
but they
watch,
think you're so magical.
They do,
You know what I
yes.
mean? They don't know. It's like,
Right.
I know what's going on.
But that's-
And you know
it
your
was-
kids.
Yes, you do.
In the same breath, though,
Yeah.
look at how they think you're so magical, but they also are looking up to everything that we're doing. Right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
they
yeah.
want to be like us. They want to do the things we do, even though when they get older and they're teenagers and they think we don't know what we're talking
Yeah.
about. And they go, whatever, in their minds.
Yeah.
They never said whatever, but whatever they would do in their minds that we didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But then that stuff carries on later into their
Oh,
adult
yeah.
years. It really does.
And I love it because they will tell you. They're like,
Yeah.
now I know what you're talking about. Like A, B, C, or D. It's like, oh, at least they got it.
Yeah.
At least they got it.
That's a great moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because the kids, whether they realize it or not, they want structure also.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do. They
Right.
do. Especially when there's none right now. Like
Yeah.
if there's chaos.
Yeah.
When there's chaos,
Yeah.
you need that structure, and that helps to keep you calm
It does.
and take that anxiety away and that fear away. So,
Well,
It's
I
something
know.
that they crave. You see it.
excuse me.
But it's hard though when you grow up, when
Yeah.
you're raising them in the beginning, because but all you have to learn, all you've learned has been about what you've seen.
Yep.
Now I know there's parents who maybe not both of them, but one of them is probably reading books about how to raise your kids now, and there's all these books out there. But really, the experience that you have never goes away, and spanking is something that is, I don't know, I don't think it works. I'm a product of spanking.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can say I turned out okay. I mean, people say that all the time, like, "Oh, I'm
Right.
fine. I turned out okay." No, I
Yeah.
didn't. Like, I have some issues from that,
Right.
And I mean, it's just that whole idea of, your parents tell you they love you, they want to protect you, and they tell you don't do these things because you need to be safe. But then yet you're running from them because they're physically coming after you
Yeah.
to,
Right,
to
right.
discipline you because they love you. So it's very confusing. And as you grow older, you realize I can either go that route or I don't want to go that route. But I think I've probably had to test that on every one of my kids where I thought, oh my gosh, is this the moment I'm supposed to spank them?
Yeah.
I will say one time my daughter brought a radio plugged into the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't put it in the water, but she put it on the edge of the tub. And I threatened her really aggressively
Oh, yeah.
to not do that again. And she did it again. And that was the one time that I pulled her little wet behind out of that tub and smacked her on the butt
Yeah.
because I said, this will hurt you less than what that will do
Yeah.
to you. And that will kill you. And,
But that was for safety.
right.
That was, yeah.
But I think about running out front of the ice cream truck and all the little things people say you
Yeah.
get spanked for. But, it's never really, I don't know. I think I probably could have even made an impact even stronger at
Yeah.
the time if I would have had, the intestinal fortitude to think about what I was going to do.
But were you going to explain the theory of electricity? To
I
her?
know.
You're
It's
not
like,
going to, right?
or even
Because-
explain what death is. She was
Right.
like 4.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't.
But then she can't grasp that. What she will
Right.
remember
Exactly.
is, because there is a fine line. I don't exactly know what that is, but there is a fine line. It's like if the child wants to bring violence into the house, it's probably going to be met with violence. Right?
Right. Like you would like
It's
to
like
see this?
it's like allowing children to slap their parents, and you see little kids doing the parents just go, oh, yeah. Okay, that's okay. They're 3, and then 9,
Yeah. Because where does
and
it
then
start?
it's 12,
Yeah.
and then it's a little boy, for instance.
Yes.
And then he's 15, and now he's stronger than you.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right. Right.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to every single time, but at some point in time, violence is not acceptable.
Right. Well,
Right.
when we were growing up, I think it was like 1986 when they stopped corporal punishment in schools.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
My
yeah.
dad had to sign something that
Yeah.
allowed the principal to spank us.
Oh, yeah.
And to think that, like, what did that do to so many kids?
Right.
This is California, so that lasted much longer in other states.
Yeah.
I went to a school where you can get private school for a little while. You can, you can get
Catholic
swatted,
school
they
for
would
me.
call it.
Same. Oh,
get
That
yeah.
wooden paddle.
The paddle, yes.
No,
that
I
paddle.
get
We
you.
had the ruler on the
Yeah.
hand.
And
Count
that
this
was-
was those nuns.
Wow. No.
Yeah.
But I know you had an incident with one of your boys.
Yeah, I grew up. I mean, I grew up getting spanked, and I grew up where the entire neighborhood would spank you. You do something down the street, you're going to get whooped all the way to your house, and then you're going to get it when you get home. And I was 20 when I became a dad. So I was very young, and I'm taking those same tools into my relationship with my children. And I remember I was in the mode of spanking, and one day my son came home and he lost $20. And I said, well, what happened to it? He said, well, I gave it to my friend. Why would you give it to your friend? It's for you. You're supposed to use it. He said, well, he needed it. And I immediately go get in the room, sit on the bed. I'll be right there. Grab my belt. And I went in and I sat down next to him and I said, you're going to get it, lay across my lap. He said, why? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Right.
And at that moment, I was able to have a conversation with him. And he explained to me he needed it more than I did.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why I'm going to get punished for that. And that opened up a whole world for me with just communicating with my children and being able to talk through whatever problems that we had. Never spank them again. I never had to.
Right.
And there was a level of respect. Like, my boys are 26 and soon to be 25. And never had an issue of disrespect
And they're all
in the
different.
house. And they really are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
All our kids are
just
different.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good to be
Yeah.
able to change that cycle.
Yeah. It's
That is
just
good.
dialogue.
Right.
It is dialogue.
It's just opening that conversation, having a conversation with the kids. It's like important because in their mind, they're doing these things for a reason. In our mind, it looks ridiculous.
Right.
Especially when they're younger, and you're just asking the question, but why? Will help you see their point of view. We got to remember that their mind is smaller than ours. They haven't lived as long as us. So, we got to give them that grace to let them make those decisions, because if not, then we're just trying to mold them to be someone
Exactly.
who we think they should be.
Yeah, you got to put that ego down and
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm learning as just as much as you are to be a parent. And although I have a lot more experience than you do, I don't get it right every time.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about it. And I wait for the day where our kids grow up and tell someone else, oh, my parents are great. They always just talk to me and I really got it. We're just hoping right now that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I know that I had an incident with my daughter where she was young. She was really quiet child, and she wasn't very social, so I had to kind of push her towards social activities. In my mind, I had to do that, right? So she did everything. I tried every sport. She did dancing, theater, modeling, all of this stuff, always busy on the go. And I had a dance mom moment where I got into it with another mom. The mom tried to snatch a trophy out of her hand. And after that, I don't really remember too much. Let's just say I choose
Red
to
zone.
not remember what happened. But after I finished seeing red and I was able to be in my car and driving home, I asked my daughter, she was 9 at the time, and I said, hey, you know what? And I didn't say, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I said, how do you feel about all of this? Do you even want to do this dancing stuff anymore? And she said, no. And I said, what do you mean you don't want to do it? She goes, no. I go, well, what is it you want to do? Like, is there anything you want to do? And she goes, no, I just want to draw and go to school.
Well.
And that day I decided, okay, we're done. I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to make you into something I think you should be.
Right.
You know, you have this pressure to kind of push your kids towards something they're good at, right? And I'm not saying that's a problem, but we see so many kids and so many examples nowadays of these kids who are just doing what their parents say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter was a very obedient child. She was just, okay, mommy, would go with me everywhere. And once I realized that she didn't want to do any of that, and I started to kind of encourage her towards the things she wanted to do, bought her a drawing tablet and started encouraging her to draw and gave her all the things she wanted to draw. Now she's in fine arts school and she's in a junior year, and she'll hopefully be, making movies and
Right.
animation
Right.
and production and all of that stuff because that's what she's always wanted to do. It was hard for me
Right.
to adjust. It was very hard for me to adjust to letting go of what I thought was supposed to happen. You got all these people, and I grew up, she was raised in Texas for a few years, so there was a lot of social activities. When it's hot outside, you stay inside. When it's cold outside, you stay inside. And so there was always like mom groups, and I guess that's everywhere, but I felt pressure. She was my first child, my first, natural born child. And it was very intense. And I was glad I didn't have to spend $600 a month on her dance. But at the same time, I'm proud of myself for stopping that behavior early and realizing early that this is not who she is.
Yep.
Let her be who she is. And it worked out really good.
It did. You
is
did
good.
well, Mama.
It's
still
good
very
when
quiet.
we realize there are not many versions of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Different individuals.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. But I mean, I
No.
think also like growing up, it's kind of a reflection of how our parents were, because I didn't really have too many passions. I moved my room around a lot. So that's probably why I like the feng shui stuff, but they would have known how to direct me there. But my parents weren't very supportive of anything I really did. And it wasn't because they didn't want to be. They were just busy.
Yeah.
Right? They were busy
Yep.
and we had our own lives and we didn't care because we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And I never got that encouragement to do something I really wanted. And so it was kind of just, I thought, oh, well, I didn't get that. So let me push this. Let me push this on my kids, But they're just so different.
Yeah.
They're all so different. And life is different, right?
Yeah.
is
They're not
Yeah.
taking
That's
city
what I was
buses
just
to
about to
school.
say. Life is so different. Yeah, school bus.
Yeah, we used to take the city buses to school.
Like, where they at?
And be out till the lights came on, and all the lifestyle we lived as kids was
Yeah.
so different. Now our kids don't.
We
just wanna
had
be
way
inside.
more freedom. We had
Yeah.
way more freedom.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And they do. They have a lot of freedoms, but they don't.
Their
choose
freedom
not
comes
to.
differently from
It does.
ours. Ours is more independence. Theirs is freedom. A little too much freedom, in my opinion. But hey, I'm like, you're like, okay. Everybody thinks that you can do. Oh, you're 16 now, and so you should know this. You should be able to do all this in the world. And it's just like, no. When they turn 18, when they go to college, and it's like, the schools expect them to know how to apply for FAFSA. Like these kids never done any of this before. So all of a sudden now they're supposed to know how to manage themselves, manage their time, and take care of the business aspect of school and get their studies in and all of that good stuff. It's just too much sometimes. It's like, no, but yet the schools take out. I know when we were growing up, it was, what was it, home ec?
Right.
Now that's no longer in the
Yes,
school.
no.
So it's like, if they don't get the guidance at home, where are they getting that from?
Absolutely.
Now, did you guys learn how to drive a car in high school?
Yeah, that
So
was
did
an
I.
option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what happened to that? Because
That's gone.
Yeah.
we have
Driver's
like
ed.
our 25-year-old and our 21-year-old, they don't drive. And they have no real desire. I mean,
In
they want-
California?
yeah. And a lot of these kids, I found that a lot
Well,
of
'cause
kids
they can
in their
Uber and they
generation
can-
Yeah.
don't want to drive
Yeah.
because they either have a friend who drives or,
Yep.
like you said, Uber.
Yep.
It's so easy.
That's true, but if you have Uber money, I'm
Well,
like, who's
I
paying for
tell
these
you.
Ubers?
Well, the parents pay for
One of
it.
our
It's
sons-
just-
Yeah, the
it's
parents
all-
are paying
it's all
for it
the
a lot of
same.
times.
Well,
So
one of our sons was working and he was spending like $900 a month on Uber just to get to work.
you're like, that's more than a car note.
Right.
It is.
Right.
It is.
It is
he
more
has-
than a car note.
He has more of a discomfort with driving. Like he wasn't confident in driving, so he probably shouldn't. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
He wasn't ready. So he doesn't need it, but
Right,
it turns
and-
out now he's, not even.
I had a fear of driving when I was younger. I didn't get my license till I was 19. And for me, I'm the youngest of 4. So I always had older siblings, and we only had one car in the family. So it's just like everybody didn't have their own cars. So I'm like, well, I need my sister's gonna take me. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like and if no one was home to do it, I had to take the bus. It's like I had to take the city bus. So you find a way. But I definitely wasn't. Our oldest, she was that way. She was very reluctant on driving, and I'm just like, okay, but just know,
Yes.
you're gonna be the only senior at that school on that city
Right.
bus because
I
I'm
had
not
my-
driving you and and then I have to take the other 3 to school.
Right.
So that motivation.
Job.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
like, yeah,
I had my license when I turned 16. The day I turned 16, I was at the DMV, and I had a brand new car that day, and I was like gone.
That
Oh,
was
my
probably
goodness.
you, huh?
Yeah, well, I was
street
about
racing,
17
too.
when I got a
Yeah.
license, but yeah.
I think it depends on where you fall because like you're the oldest. I'm the young. He's the oldest of his siblings. I'm the youngest
Right.
of mine. So it's for me. It was like I won't say the motivation wasn't there because my sister she's only a year older than me. Like she got her license right away, but for me it was just like
My sister had her license, but she was like, no. When I'd ask her for a ride,
good.
no, I'm going somewhere. I'm doing this. We used to get in the car with just randos, like
Oh,
people
yeah.
that somebody's
we did
brother,
that.
or somebody's
Oh, yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
And I remember just talking about this with one of my girlfriends. I was like, we used to go to the skating rink. I grew up in the Bay Area. We used to go to the skating rink all the time. And we get there somehow. I don't remember, but we'd always get these rides home from somebody's brother or somebody's sister.
somebody,
Smell like weed in the car. Don't know if they're drinking. You just don't know seatbelts in the back seat.
Yeah.
Flopping around. Oh man, we shouldn't be here.
Oh,
I
my-
tell you.
Well, talking about our freedoms, 4 children, everybody's an adult. So do you have freedom of the house now?
Empty
Are you empty
nesters?
nesters?
well, we have
we
2 back
were.
at home. So for 2 years we were empty nesters.
Oh, how was that? Was it like you
enjoyed
thought it
every
would
minute
be?
It was nice because you can, things would be as you left them,
Right.
Kitchen stayed clean, bathrooms
orange
were
juice is
clean.
still
Yeah,
there.
everything was.
That's my
Everything
mess.
was there.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it was good. Hopefully everyone gets to experience that at some point in time out there. But yeah,
Did you guys change the house around, make new rooms?
We did. So Emir's, our oldest daughter's room became Emir's office.
yeah.
And then we have 4 rooms total in our house. And so then the other room we call Emir's
That was my sleeping room.
sleeping room. See, Emir has to get up, go to work
we
early.
have different
We
sleeping
definitely have
patterns. It's just
Really?
put it out there.
That's so
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, yeah, right. Night owl. I'm not a night owl. I mean, if I try that pace, at the end of the week, I'm a wreck. I'm done.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work for me.
That's true.
So-
I can stay up late.
So yeah, it made sense once we had the space. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. You get to sleep
well, yeah, and
when
because
you want
gotta
to,
be up
and
so
I like the
early,
window
though.
open.
Yeah.
She likes it.
I'm like,
all bundled
Bundled
up.
up,
I
yeah.
like air and all that. So, yeah, it was nice. But now we're kind of back to normal. So
Back to the
Yeah.
same room
Back
because the
to the
kids
same.
moved back.
Yeah, they're home.
two of them,
Yeah.
have moved back. With school and everything. So, but it was, like I said, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Now, do you find that, like, the kids not being in the house, was there anything that you guys were able to kind of do differently because there was no kids? Was it quiet? Was it weird? Was it?
The quietness. That's what you kind of have to get used to because you get
Yeah.
when the kids are around, there's a certain energy or a buzz in the house. Something's kind of always going on, especially as they get older. So they may even have different cooking habits. So you have to get used to the noise that they make in the kitchen and this and that, blah, blah. Yeah, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And when they're coming and going, but that goes back to you kind of have to set some ground rules about coming in and out of the house at all hours of the night. I'm a light sleeper, so I just don't like it really noisy. I don't. That's not
Yeah.
really my thing. You say that because she comes from a loud, noisy
I
family.
do. I mean, overstimulation is there.
Yeah.
I'm like, the TVs can be running
all
and radio
that.
can be in this room. And that's how my mom and dad was. So I just learned to sleep through anything. So for me, that was never an issue. But I had to remind Amir, like, listen, you have 4 kids. Like,
gonna
it's
be
not
some
going to
noise.
be
No,
quiet.
it don't have to
as
be
quiet
quiet
as
like
you
a
want it to
museum.
be.
Just, a little
Yeah, you
quiet.
would love it that way, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how, I'm a fan of quiet. I like my peace. Matter of fact, when we first met, one of the first things he asked me is, what are you passionate about? And I said, peace. There's that. And I think we talked about this in our episode together. But yeah, that's, he's got this kind of, he's a Marine. He was a Marine Corps. He's used to noises and chaos and people being around all the time. And I think one time we were getting ready and he's in the shower. He's got the music on. I said radio. He's got the music playing on the speaker. And he's trying to talk to me, and I got the blow dryer going, and he's yelling over the shower, over the music, over the blow dryer. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. Like, turn something off. I can't hear you. And I hear him. I hear every word he said. But my brain is like, I can't process.
You're like, it's too much going on.
Yes,
Yeah.
like I get like not upset, but I get anxious.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't really think about if I answer it. It's not the real answer because there's so much going on. But I grew up in a chaotic house. I mean, and I say that because we had a lot of foster kids in the house. Sometimes we had a lot of kids in the house. But now I don't. And then my late husband, he worked like he got up at like 3 a.m. to go to work, and so we were always having to be really quiet at night. Because he would go to sleep so early. He'd go to sleep at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I'm always used to just keeping everybody quiet in the house, which was kind of hard, after he passed. One of those things was the quietness.
Yeah.
I probably related a little bit to like when your kids moved out. It's a quietness that's loud.
Yeah.
It's a very, it's very present.
Yeah.
That it's so quiet.
You can
so it's a
hear how
very
quiet things
Yes,
are.
it's
Yeah.
a strange, strange
Yeah.
feeling. It's almost like somebody's there, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so quiet, like I feel like somebody's there.
You learn new noises
You do learn
throughout the
noise.
house.
You hear your
you're
house.
like,
Because
oh,
houses,
did
yeah,
the
they
refrigerator
make-
always do that? Or was
Right.
it this reason?
Is there something wrong with it? Let's
Just
call the
saying,
plumber.
Yeah.
There's cracks in the roof and all these little cracks at night. It's like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah, I feel like that
What-
was the biggest
Yeah.
adjustment for us.
But one thing for us that it's nice. We watch different shows, but we'll find something that we both like, and so we get a chance to we'll binge watch a series,
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so
Yeah, that's
that's what we
love
love.
that.
Yeah, we love
we're on that
that.
Ozark
Yeah,
right
a little
now.
date.
Oh,
I
we did
love
that.
Ozark.
That
Oh, that's a good one.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah,
we
we
just got
started
started
that.
with it.
Even though he falls asleep, he's wide awake finding it and then
Right.
falling asleep when we started.
Yeah.
But he's got to get up in the morning, so I'm a late nighter.
Yeah.
I can stay up late. I cannot fall asleep anywhere but my bed.
Yeah.
So sitting in a couch, like I'll never fall asleep.
Yeah, if she
watching
falls
TV.
asleep on the couch, she's sick.
Yeah, there's something wrong with
problem.
me.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
major,
Yeah.
major sick. Too. Yeah.
Well, I hate to stop this conversation. But something that we'd like to ask all of our couples. When you got married, did you say the traditional vows? Did you write your own vows? What did you do? And if you did, at this moment, being together for 32 years, being married for 30 years, what would you change in those vows? What would you either take out or what would you add for your wedding vows?
We did do the traditional.
Traditional, yeah.
We did not have obey.
She took that out. Why, I wonder. But
She told you from jump.
Right.
She wasn't gonna be your girlfriend, and she was
I
not
wasn't
gonna
gonna
obey.
Would I have done it differently? I think so, for sure. I think by us being so young and marrying so young, it was like we just took the traditional way of everything and what we thought everybody, it's how it's supposed to be and what everybody else wanted, and not really put ourselves into it. I don't even know if we knew ourselves at that point, So, but what would I put in my vows now? And I can't remember. I did have something in my mind, but I can't.
Well, we talked about this before. we've actually had this conversation, and I think it was like along the lines of respect and being patient,
Yeah.
and kind of encouraging your spouse whenever there's something they're going through, positive or negative. You
Or
encourage
negative.
them. And the respect is something we may say in the vows, but it's really not emphasized. You know, we never go back and look at those vows.
Yeah,
We say it at the wedding.
exactly.
And it's not like on our anniversary every year we go and look at the vows. Like,
Yeah.
that's something we should probably do.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a good
Reevaluate
idea.
what we said at the wedding and maybe change them every year and say, well, what did we do last year that you think could be, you know,
So I think we'll get a better understanding of what we said.
and the growth.
Like what? Yeah, exactly.
Where are
Because
you going
that will
into it?
show
Yeah.
us the growth in the
Right.
relationship. It's like, oh, this is what respect looks like.
So I challenge everyone out there who's married that every year, instead of just planning a vacation or some kind of time off, to go look at your vows and maybe reevaluate everything you said and just keep each other on point. Like, are we doing these things? And is there something we need to work on? A lot of people don't have that easy communication between each other in a relationship. And,
That's true.
you know, when you say those vows, whether you've read them off of a script or you've written them, we need to be revisiting those things and having that conversation, even if it's just that we do on our anniversary.
Yeah.
It can bring about a lot of good memories, you know, from the wedding. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, in this process, we've found that one of the most wonderful gifts we've been given is that when we interview couples, that they tell us their story, and we see the light in their eyes back and forth between each other because they're having these memories of those times that may have been 32 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, and everybody kind of knows your story, right?
Yeah.
You hang out with people and everybody knows how you met and where you met. But not a lot of people actually know the full story. And when they hear it, it's like they get to see you again back in that space. And
That's
you
true.
get to have those feelings of, oh,
Yeah.
I remember when we were, you know, brand new.
I know. I feel like when you guys are asking us questions, it's like it just brings back those moments where you're like, oh, yeah, that's how I felt. That's what it made me feel like, or that's why we did what we did, or the decisions we made. You know, it's like it makes you just like reflect.
Yeah, it's really important. And I think I wish that I would have been better about that. Or if someone would have just said, hey, I challenge you. Or, you know, these people that sign our marriage certificates, there's a witness on there.
Yeah.
And these witnesses probably should take their jobs a little more serious. Because they are really responsible for keeping it together for us. You know?
And even our friends too, who bear witness.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
take
Everybody that was in that role.
Everybody that was in that role. And to your point, like I would definitely add in grace and patience for sure, because
Patience
you
is a big
need
one,
that.
yeah.
You really do, because you know every decade, if a generation is 20 years, and you know I would say in the relationship that's probably more like 10 years.
Right.
You know, you're a different human being.
Right.
You know, you realize different things. You know, for us, from our 20s to now our early 50s, we're really different people,
Right.
right?
yeah.
And where we're going, what we want to do, we're moving down the same path. That's for sure.
That's important.
Yeah, we're different, and we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And say, how does that help our? How do we grow into this new chapter in our
Right.
relationship?
And then not lose yourself.
And not
right.
lose
To
ourselves,
stay who
yes.
you are.
This is
but
important
you-
to stay.
the,
Yes.
the better version of
Yeah.
yourself
Yes.
through the growth in the relationship.
Without a doubt.
So,
Well, I want to say huge thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You have given a lot of tools for the proverbial toolbox. But one thing I want to really capitalize on is what this couple has done. Set the ground rules to build a solid foundation. They've done that with great communication with one another, great communication with their family and with their children. And we would hope that each and every one of you will be able to take these tools and use them in your life and in your relationship. Thank you for being a part of Couples Unfiltered. We're very happy to have you all see us have these conversations.
Yeah, amazing conversations with amazing people that we really like. And now we get to go to dinner
Absolutely.
and celebrate. We got some reservations
Yes, we do.
and we're dry.
Yes, we
We
are.
are dry.
Today, we're not dry anymore today. Today's the official end of dry.
Exactly. So
Well, thanks for having us. We
Thank you.
appreciate
Yes, we
it.
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys
Please.
are great.
So,
please follow us on wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
And you can follow us on Instagram at Couples Unfiltered. It's couples_unfiltered. And you can email us if you have any questions. If you have any questions about Treci and Amir, at couplesunfiltered333 at gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you
reach
all so
out.
much.